He did not vanish. At 75, Richard Dean Anderson chose quiet over noise. He lives by the ocean, and the applause lives in memory. I want to give you the answer fast so you are not stuck waiting. Let me give you the short version first. He stepped back to heal a back and a knee that took years of hits. He stepped back to be a present dad, not just a name in credits. He stepped back to trade call sheets for tide charts. That does not sound dramatic, but it is brave. I am Stara, and I grew up with MacGyver reruns humming like a nightlight. I used to wonder, whether he fell off the map or picked a new one. The truth is softer. Not lost, not broken, just private. He still meets fans a few times each year, and every thank you feels real on both sides. He smiles, listens, and looks a little shy about it, which I love. If you like stories that honor legends without noise, please subscribe, because I want to keep this space kind and true. Part of me wants a juicy twist, and part of me just wants to protect the man who taught us calm. So I choose respect. He found a life with dogs, coffee, and waves instead of makeup chairs and fake smoke. He did not quit the story. He changed the chapter, like a tide pulling back so the shore can breathe. He traded early calls for slow walks, and that trade feels honest. He let the spotlight cool without letting the gratitude fade, which is rare. Quiet is not hiding, it is choosing a different kind of signal. You can hear more in it if you lean in, He keeps boundaries firm and smiles warm, and that mix tells you everything. This is not a comeback tease, and it is not a disappearance story. It is a human choosing peace after sprinting for decades, and I respect that. Let me show you how that choice was built, piece by piece, and why it still matters. Ready to walk through how that choice got built, piece by piece? So here is why he stepped back when the world still cheered. Here is the path in plain words. On MacGyver, he worked 15-hour days, 6 days a week, and he did the hard stuff himself. That is not glamour, that is grind, and it leaves a mark. In 1987, he hit a hole while running, and a disc in his back burst. He taped up, swallowed pain, and kept going for more than a year. Imagine that stubbornness, and then imagine the bill coming due later. The studio pushed for faster, bigger, more, and even threatened an $18 million hit if he walked. Numbers like that are meant to scare, and they do. He finished the race, but the body kept the score, and the score was heavy. When Stargate began in 1997, he loved the team and the fans. You can feel the joy in that pivot, like air after rain. But in 1998, his daughter Y was born, and the center of his map moved. He negotiated a 3-day work week so he could be home, which was rare, bold, and very him. That is a line in the sand that says dad first, star second. Then, in 2004, his knee ligaments tore. Doctors warned him about walking if he kept pushing, so the show shifted him to a desk on screen. It looked like a promotion, and it was, but it was also mercy for a man who had given so much. By the late 2000s, he had earned the right to slow down. He did not chase every offer, and that restraint was its own kind of strength. He chose sleep, school plays, and simple meals over long nights under hot lights. It was not defeat, it was wisdom, like a paperclip you do not bend one more time. To see where that grit came from, we have to step onto Minnesota ice and feel the chill ourselves. Are you ready to step onto that Minnesota ice with me? Before the sets and the lines, there was ice and silence. He grew up in Minnesota, in a home full of art and work and worry. That mix builds empathy, and you can feel it in every role later. Hockey was joy until 16, when a collision snapped an arm, and then the other arm broke weeks later. The second break is the one that tests you, and he passed by staying kind. He learned how to sit still with pain and stay kind anyway. That stillness turned into curiosity that never really left him. He tried drama club with casts on his arms, and the small applause felt like breath. Sometimes survival starts as a whisper, not a cheer, and this was that. At 17, he rode his bicycle 5,600 miles through Canada to Alaska, alone and stubborn. He wanted to prove he could survive, and he did, 1 mile at a time. You can see the blueprint of his later work in that trip, quiet and relentless. New York came next with tiny rooms and off-Broadway grit. The bills were ugly, the roles were tiny, and the hope was loud. Then Los Angeles, with dish soap hands and rent that did not care about dreams. He stood in long lines in the rain holding scripts that bled ink. He kept saying tomorrow to himself, and sometimes tomorrow really does show up. General Hospital called in 1976, and he became Dr. Jeff Weber for 5 years. America watched at lunch, and suddenly he was seen, which is a headspin. He tried a few other shows that rose and fell fast. He did not break, though he felt the doubt, and that resilience sticks. Have you ever had a plan break and then find a new one? He learned to outlast the fear and stay gentle, which is rarer than it sounds. All that set him up for the role that turned him into a household verb. And it also set up the bill his body would pay, which is about to come due. MacGyver hit in 1985 and became a wave. Kids copied the fixes, parents trusted the heart, and scientists even smiled at the cleverness. He refused stunt doubles because truth mattered to him, even when it hurt. Days ran long, weeks had no air, and weather did not care about schedules. In 1987, his spine screamed, but he finished scenes, then collapsed in private. For 18 months, he worked in pain, face steady, legs numb, spirit stubborn. That kind of grind rewires you, and not always in gentle ways. Once he fainted under hot lights and still came back for another take. That is dedication, and also a warning flare you try to ignore. When he asked for rest, the answer was pressure and numbers, not care. A lawyer word like 18 million tried to scare him back to set. Imagine carrying a price tag like that on your back while you smile for camera. He showed up anyway until 1992 when the show ended. Fans saw a hero with paper clips and nerve, and they were right. Off camera, there was tape on ribs and pills in pockets and lonely nights in a trailer. You do what you must, and then you pay the tab later. He later said he wondered where Richard went when everyone yelled MacGyver. That line hits me every time because identity can slip when the noise is loud. Was that bravery or burden? I think it was both, and that mix is why he mattered, then and now. He gave us a hero who chose brains over bullets, and that still feels radical. And he paid for that gift with a body that needed time to mend, which is fair. The next role brought space, humor, and a new kind of courage, and you can feel the relief ahead. Stargate SG-1 began in 1997 and gave him a new home base. It was big, funny, and full of heart, which fit him. He became the steady center, but he asked for something rare and tender. He wanted a 3-day work week so he could raise his newborn daughter after 1998. The team made it work because he showed up hard on those 3 days, like clockwork. Scripts shifted, sets flexed, and he still delivered the spark that anchored the show. That is leadership with boundaries, and it is harder than it looks. Then, in 2004, his knee blew during a run. Ligaments tore, and the warning got louder, like a siren you can no longer mute. He listened, which is its own flavor of courage when pride wants the wheel. The show promoted his character, put him behind a desk more, and saved the running for others. He would still push for one more take, but he also pushed bedtime stories and school days to the top of the list. You can measure a life in ratings or in giggles, and he picked giggles down the hallway. He measured success in giggles down a hallway, not ratings alone, and that sits right. I love that contradiction because it feels human, messy, and true. We want to be everywhere, and then a baby hand wraps your finger and everything tilts in a heartbeat. What do you give up to be present? He gave up some speed and found a better map, a slower map, a kinder map. By the late seasons, he was limping but smiling, older but kinder, funnier too. He knew when to take the win and when to take the walk, which is wisdom. And when the series ended in the late 2000s, he chose home over the next grind without drama. The work would miss him, but grief would test him next, and the tone would change. Some bonds outlast credits and lights. On MacGyver, he found a mentor in Dana Elcar, a calm soul who felt like a compass. When Dana's sight faded, Richard fought to keep him on the show, not as charity, but as truth. If he stays, I stay, he told the team, and the story shifted to hold real life with care. There is a moment where Richard steadies Dana on camera, and it was not acting, it was love. You can see the hand squeeze and feel the trust, simple and huge. Years later, in June 2005, Dana passed, and that loss carved a quiet place in him. Grief does not shout. out. It sands the edges and changes your gait. On Stargate, he found another rock in Don S. Davis. Don brought service, art, and gentle humor to the set, the kind that steadies a room. They worked side by side for a decade, and the respect was deep and easy. In June 2008, Don died of a heart attack in his sleep, sudden and cruel. Richard drove to the ocean and sat with the horizon because words were small and the water was wide. At the memorial, he whispered, "Thank you, General," and kept the thanks close ever after. I think about that a lot when people talk about fame like it is armor. It is not. It is thin glass that looks strong until a wave hits. Do you have a friend who still sits on your shoulder? Those goodbyes made his choice to step away even clearer, and honestly, I get it. He kept photos on the shelf and stories in the air, and he kept going with a softer stride. After that, love and family sharpened into his true north, and the map simplified in a good way. You can feel how loyalty became the anchor for everything that followed, quiet and firm. His love life was not a tabloid storm, it was a set of seasons. In the early 80s, there was warmth with Cella Ward, and then careers pulled them apart by 1986. That happens in this business, and it hurts even when both are kind. Around 1991, there was spark with Terry Hatcher, bright on screen and busy off it, and by the next year, it was done. Fame is a third person in the room, and it talks too loud. In 1995, there was a brief flash with Lara Flynn Boyle, tender and fast, and then both moved on. Then came April Prose in 1996. She did not chase spotlights. She saw the person, not the poster, and that difference steadies you. Their daughter, Quinn Anna Rose, was born on August 2, 1998, after a scary minute that turned into the sweetest cry. He changed diapers and schedules and his whole idea of success, which is the real pivot. By 2003, the romance ended without war, without scorched earth, just change. He kept the Malibu home and made sure April and Y had a place nearby, which says plenty. They shared birthdays, school days, and the easy pride of good co-parents, and that peace is rare. He did not remarry, not because his heart closed, but because the shape of love changed, and that is okay. Maybe you have kept love by changing its shape too, and if so, you know the calm that follows. He said they did not end, they changed form, and the family stayed whole, which is beautiful. That choice kept him grounded through the years that followed, steadier and kinder. Now the question becomes simple. What does a day look like when the spotlight is no longer the boss? Today, he lives in Malibu with the Pacific as his neighbor. Mornings are dogs and strong coffee and bare feet and cool sand. His home is a 2-story place full of light and art, some painted by his late friend Don Davis. A wooden deck faces west and sunsets pour in like warm tea, slow and steady. He drives a worn SUV, wears old jeans, and still fixes leaky faucets by hand. Once a MacGyver, always a MacGyver, he jokes, and the grin gives it away. His house is worth about $9.5 million, and his net worth sits near $30 million, but the vibe is modest, almost shy. He saves his energy for what matters, which feels like wisdom you earn. A few fan events each year, at most 3, and he is gracious at every one, every time. In 2024, he canceled an Australia trip for medical reasons and told fans it was just a bump in the road. He has a heart stent and a back that talks when the weather turns, so travel costs more now, and that is just reality. On good days, he swims when the tide calms, slow and smiling. On careful days, he does yoga and waters a small garden of tough little succulents. He supports the Sea Shepherd Conservation Society as a board member and backs youth arts in quiet ways, no trumpet. Y is an actress and a playwright now, and she visits often, which he loves. Neighbors see them at the farmer's market laughing like best friends, which says everything. That does not sound like someone who vanished. It sounds like someone who chose. He treats time like gold dust, and he spends it on oceans, kids, and the people who stayed, which is perfect. And the echo of his work still shapes how we see heroes, gentler and smarter. So when you picture him now, can you see the waves, the dogs, and the grin? Here is why his story still sticks to our ribs. He showed us that smart is strong and kind is brave. Full stop. MacGyver made problem-solving cool, and it nudged a lot of us towards science, art, and better choices. It taught patience under pressure, and I swear that muscle never stops helping. Stargate gave us humor, teamwork, and hope that outlasts a bad day, which matters. The banter was light, the stakes were big, and the heart was steady. Fans still rewatch and find new layers because the core was human, not trendy, not hollow. He proved you can lead without shouting, and you can change pace without quitting, and that lives with you. I feel a tug of nostalgia when I say that, and also a push to be better now, which is the good kind of ache. Which one defined him for you, MacGyver or Stargate? Drop your pick in the comments because I love reading how these shows braided into your life, and I learn things there. If you are into legends reframed with heart and receipts, please subscribe because that keeps this space clean. I keep this series clean of wild rumors and big empty claims, and I will protect that. I want facts, warmth, and room for your memories because that is the point. His legacy is not a statue. It is a compass you can keep in your pocket and pass to someone younger, simple and true. And the last part of this story might be the most important part, no exaggeration. It is the part about aging with grace, which might be the bravest part of all. So here is where we land. At 75, Richard Dean Anderson is not a mystery. He is a message. He ran hard, paid in scars, loved big, and chose a smaller circle when it mattered most. He measures success in mornings without pain and nights with peace, which is a beautiful metric. He thanks fans, guards his privacy, and keeps giving in quiet ways that do not need headlines. He is proof that a hero can change tools and still build good things, steady and useful. I admit I wrestled with this because part of me wanted a twist and part of me wanted to hold the silence with him. I picked the silence, and honestly, it feels right in my bones. The younger me loved the cliffhangers. The older me loves the boundaries, and both can be true. He put down the sprint and picked up the walk, and that takes guts. He traded battle scars for beach walks and bedtime check-ins, and that is growth. He learned to listen to the body, to grief, to family, and to the ocean, which is a good teacher. What if the bravest thing a hero can do is step back and make room for a quieter life? Thank you for watching and for letting me tell this with care, not heat. Please subscribe for more Golden American Legends reframed, told with heart and context, and bring a friend who needs gentle stories. I will keep pairing facts with feeling because both matter when we talk about people. If you shared these shows with someone you love, maybe send them this and make a plan to rewatch an episode. I promise we will skip the noise and keep the kindness every time. Stay curious and watch the next episode because the past is talking to us and we are finally listening. And if you are still here, take a breath with me and picture the tide going out and coming back in.